Welcome to Let Him Cook, fueled by Cody Road. I'm in the Wild Rose Casino studios. Nigel, we were talking a little bit. I have no idea what you're about to say, but I'm told to let you cook a little. You got something that you want to get off your chest.
Yeah, I mean it's the holiday season, and holiday season comes with, people coming down with stuff. I know last week Dylan came down with the green bean casserole flu.
Well,
Just a PSA, that's public enemy number one. If you think that we had this conversation about green bean casserole, and all of a sudden, ironically, we can't do the episode all week because Dylan's throwing up and he had green bean casserole all weekend, that is not a coincidence. Those two play a role with each other. So public enemy number one, green bean casserole. But I'm coming down with something, man. I got a fever, and the only prescription is Tyrese Haliburton, baby.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk about this kid for a second? I mean, he's ridiculous. Like 5 years ago, he was in the season's cafeteria, just a regular student, just like you and I, and now he's making Drew Holiday do the spin cycle in real time in a game that matters in the in-season tournament. I mean, he put the Pacers on his back yesterday. First ever career triple-double. Absolutely insane. Just want to give my props to Tyrese. And also shout out to John Haliburton, his father, at almost every game he's in, and he's pimped out in Pacers gear. I love it. I love the family. I love that. I saw this tweet today. I said this to you, Dylan. It said that Tyrese Haliburton is becoming that D Rose AI figure that just no matter who you like in the NBA, he is a guy that you can root for. And then it's funny because I saw a quote tweet after the same guy was like, he's obviously a Celtics fan. He said some explicitives that I will not repeat on our platform, but nonetheless, if you want to go see it, go look for just Haliburton tweets. You'll probably find it. Anywho, just shout out to Tyrese Haliburton. I mean, he's having an MVP season, is he not?
No, I think you're totally right. And also, I want to shout out just the 2018 freshman class of Iowa State, because there's a chance that you were in a gen ed lecture hall with Brock Purdy and Tyrese Haliburton as freshmen. And that's a pretty loaded, stats 101 class. Like two future MVPs just sitting in the same lecture hall in Ames, Iowa. Had a crazy night last night. And Nigel, we were talking about this. He's like a knuckleball. Like, that's the best analogy that I can. It's like trying to hit a knuckleball. He plays at such an odd pace that only he plays at. It's fast, but when he's driving to the basket, it's not like Ja Morant or like Russell Westbrook, like prime Russ athleticism that's getting him to the hoop. He's just crafty. He moves in a certain way that's just kind of tough for guys to guard. And the Celtics have literally some of the best defensive guards in the NBA. Drew Holiday.
Best on-ball defenders.
Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown was guarding him for stretches. And then also, I don't know if it was, Tatum trying to get the switch, but Haliburton was guarding Tatum down the stretch. So, I mean, dude just had a hell of a game. The Pacers are going to Vegas. And also, I think this NBA in-season tournament is going to be a cool, who's got next. Like, the Pacers are a fun, young team. They play super fast, best offense in the NBA. And yeah, I mean, if you're the point guard to the best offense in the NBA, leading the league in assists, I think you have to get looked at as an MVP candidate because he is just balling out right now for the Pacers.
Well, here's my thing too with all that. I think I like the point where you brought up who's got next, because I think it's a good gauge this tournament because they're games that matter in the middle of the year. And I think we're starting to see a lot of guys that we grew up watching, Harden, LeBron, a lot of those guys, they got dead legs right now. And these young guys with fresh legs are able to make a statement, almost kind of like the bubble where you got to see okay, Jamal Murray, he's up next. Like, the Nuggets are going to be a contender in the next few years. But I think that's a great analogy, just saying that it's a great stage to have this new generation of players showcase their skills and talents and their ability to lead a team. I mean, Tyrese, whether you like it or not, he's leading the Pacers day in, day out.
Yeah.
And I think he's already kind of that natural born leader. So to see him kind of coming into his own fully, you saw it in spurts with the Kings, but the Pacers trade, I know he took it very hard personally, but I think it was the biggest blessing in disguise for him because he's really just came out of his cocoon and he's a beautiful butterfly now. And it's it's awesome to watch, dude. He's a kid that you want to root for already.
Right.
So to see him have all this success is beautiful, man. And it's putting Iowa State on the map.
Yeah.
Like what Purdy and Tyrese Haliburton are doing in their respective sports is just special. And it just makes you so proud to be an alumni, rock the Cardinal and gold. And also, while we're talking about Brock, I want to give a shout out to Brock because what he did against the great Philadelphia defense was absolutely disgusting. He was just carving them up out there. Someone said he came into the arena in a Kohl's like $75 outfit from Kohl's and stepped on the Eagles couch. So that was a great analogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Brock. I actually had a class with him junior year. He's the nicest dude in the world. If you see him walking to class, he looks like another kid, agriculture major from Ames, Iowa. So he's just a very everyday guy. So it's great to see him succeeding.
Yeah, two great dudes, great representatives for the school. Also, Tyrese Haliburton, second national, second primetime game in his NBA career, going back to the Kings and the Pacers. So get that team on television more. Bally Sports is just hiding them. You can't even get them on League Pass. So get those guys on ESPN and TNT like twice a week.
Don't you get it? The revolution will not be televised.
Yeah, it should be.
Adam Silver knows what he's doing. He's like, I'm going to make these people beg for Haliburton content. And I see right through you, Mr. Silver. I see right through you.
And I'll pay up. I need to see all of it.
I'll give him my left foot to watch more Haliburton TV games. I need it. I need it in my veins, please.
Not sure I'm giving my left foot up to watch DePaul this year. DePaul, struggling. A tough year for the Blue Demons over there in your neck of the woods. Just a bad team and kind of a bad start to that game for the Cyclones. I think they kind of got knocked around in Orlando. I thought this would be kind of a nice, pissed off game. Like DePaul's just going to go in against a buzzsaw, but it took Iowa State a while to kind of find their mojo, but they found it kind of maybe the last 10 minutes of the first half. What did you expect going into this DePaul game?
I expected a bounce back. I think the meltdown we had against Texas Tech was Texas A&M was equivalent. I'm getting to that point. I just got ahead of myself just there. Was equivalent to last year's meltdown to Texas Tech. In Lubbock. And I think we have just got to stop being that team because it's like half of that team or that rotation. Because mind you, that's when Grill was still playing. So half of that team in rotation is gone now due to graduation. You can't really look at. I don't want to necessarily just look at the kids in this scenario as a coaching staff. Why are we blowing leads like that? And they're dramatic. Like you play hard. You get out to this huge lead that you can just really pad yourself on and just after that, just execute offense. And we just tend to lose it. And you can blame, lack of poise, a lot of freshmen on the floor, sophomores, whatnot. But we also saw TJ's staff do this with a veteran club last year. So what's the problem with, is it rotations? Like, I kind of want to hear from your perspective just about like what is going on in the long timeline that Otzelberger's been here. We've lost a lot of games that we were up big in. And that's, I just personally, I think it's unacceptable.
The way we play basketball, you have to be able to sit on a lead. Like Iowa State, they can't afford, if you get up 20, like we're going to have, I've seen it this year already, and I've seen it in the past, that Iowa State goes on scoring droughts for, 5, 7, 8 minutes. So if you get up 20 points in a game, the defense has to be elite, and you just have to literally sit on that lead and just don't let it go anywhere. You don't have to extend it even, but you cannot let a team like Texas A&M, like Texas Tech last year, claw their way back. I mean, you just have to be suffocating on defense, and that's all you got to do. I mean, offense, if you're up 20, you don't need to shoot. You don't need to go on a 10-0 run. You just need to, if they score a basket, you need to go down the court and score a basket. You need to get stops. You just need to keep up, act like it's a tie game when you're up 20, and just answer the other team. But we struggle almost when we get a large lead. Like we don't know, Iowa State doesn't know what to do. They look almost uncomfortable up that many points and kind of get out of their, their game.
Well, I don't think they're comfortable. I think they're tired.
It could be.
like getting that lead, you need a breather. And I
Right.
know Tamin is not going to have many breathers this year due to him what he's able to do on the court. Nonetheless, I think when you get that lead, like 5 minutes, everyone come sit down. Everybody, like
Yeah.
5 and 5. If you got to put Conrad in the game, put him in the game for the time being. You're up 20, and just play that still like suffocating defense. But like it's just so frustrating, dude, to like see a game because mind you, you and I were both working a lot for the
Yeah.
tournament. So tuning into every second of the game is tough. So I'm really just kind of updating myself with scores, and I'm like, oh, we're good. Look at my
Right.
phone again. What happened? And then I go back and watch like the game on YouTube, and it's like, okay, this is the problem. And they just seem tired. It seems like they get complacent. Guys like Jones just get really very three happy, which with a streaky shooter like him, or he's had a streaky year, I'd say.
Right.
Um, it's bad news, and I think we just have to get better at containing those leads because, bro, the Big 12 is going to eat you alive. You'll mess around and lose to BYU if you're not careful. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And the other A&M is going to be a really good team. I think they're going to compete for the SEC title. But if you get up 20 on any team, I don't care who it is, you got to find a way to win that game.
Mhm.
And so that was by far the most disappointing loss. And then that's why I thought, we're going to go into DePaul and beat the hell out of this team. Let me read you DePaul's losses. Purdue, Fort Wayne, the Mastodons, Long Beach State. I don't even know what their mascot is. Got a rare win against the South Dakota Coyotes. Lost to
Come on,
South
South Dakota.
Carolina,
Do
lost
better.
to San Francisco, lost to Northern Illinois, and lost to Iowa State. So by no means is this a great a non-conference game. I think DePaul's likely to finish last in the Big East. Iowa State won 99-80. Second half looked good. Again, I'm just not used to watching Iowa State put up 99 points. It
Yeah.
is something I'm still kind of getting accustomed to. Haven't seen that in years. What I know DePaul's bad, but what about this team? We can be potent. Iowa State has, these games where they get either over 100 or real close to it. What has changed in the last 2 years with Altenberger to this year?
Tamin.
Yeah.
Tamin. I think to see year one with Hunter, the team just didn't have that same engine. The engine was Brockington that year, and everyone else kind of played off of him. But ever since Tamin's been here, dude, I mean, like he's just doing the little things, and now he's kind of like last year was like Russell Westbrook on the Sonics, and now we're starting to see a spurt of Tamin Lipsey going into his Russell Westbrook Thunder era.
Yeah.
And I love how he's just able to do a little bit of everything, and he ends up having his first career triple-double. Oddly enough, same weekend as Tyrese Haliburton. I mean, this is just a good weekend for Cyclones. They decided to cook, and I'm going to let them. So,
Nigel, I got a little quiz set up for you. I just saw this literally moments before we started recording, and I was like, this can't be real. Do you know who's leading the team in points?
Tamin or Rob?
It's Tamin Lipsey. Do you know who's leading the team in rebounds?
Tamin.
Tamin Lipsey. Do you know who's leading the team in assists?
Cade Kelderman. I'm just kidding. Tamin.
And also leading the team in steals. So 4 out of the 5 stats, Tamin Lipsey is leading the team as a 6'2" guard, leading a power 6 school in rebounding. Absurd. 6'1" is what he's listed as. He's about the same height as I am. So 6'1" might be, I say I'm 6'2", so we're going to call Tamin Lipsey 6'2". Just insane. 6.5 rebounds. Again, the triple-double against DePaul. I think he needed like 2 rebounds late in that game, and he got them. So, man, he played his ass off against DePaul. Pavletsky, another player I want to shout out, had by far his best game as a Cyclone this past weekend. Looked good, played a lot, and just looks comfortable playing alongside Lipsey.
Yeah.
And I think, again, we're so early in the year still. Nobody wins the Wooden Award for the games they played in November. So I think it's taken time for these guys to figure out, if so-and-so is on the court, how does that change what I'm doing? How does that, when can I be more aggressive? When do I need to kind of defer to the other guys? And I think we saw Pavlovsky kind of starting to figure things out a
Yeah.
little against DePaul.
He's got a as a also a Duke fan, I know an asshole white kid when I see one, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I know Caleb jumped into that role fast last year, but I think going forward, if it ain't Milan, it's gotta be Jackson. We
Yeah.
gotta have that just punk coming off the bench. And I think he's shown Spurs that he can be that, you know? And when I say punk, I don't mean he's like the kid's a punk. He's probably a great guy.
Right.
But
It's
that
like,
attitude and aura that you bring on the court has got to be there. And I think you just need that a-hole that is able to do the dirty work and smack a three in your face. And I think if he can find that switch that he can always go to turn on, I think he's going to do wonders for us going forward. And I think TJ will then start to have more trust in him being that backup one to give Tamin those breathers. Because if
yeah.
we want to see Tamin continue to do the things he's doing, the kid's got to get some rest.
Right. And Pavlovsky is like an ultimate. If you're an opponent, you hate playing against him, but if he's on your team, you love him. I
Yeah.
think that's like a great, like, that is very much, I think, who he will become. And he's got a lot of years left. I think he has 2 years of eligibility after this year, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, this is kind of just the beginning for him. Trey King had a great game, 10 for 15 from the field, 24 points, 5 rebounds. I mean, I think almost any of these guys, if they were like, I'm gonna have a great game today, I think based on the competition they were playing, they were gonna be able to go out and have a great game. But it was very just kind of cool the breaks. I think a lot of people got freaked out after Orlando and were like, are we as good as we thought we were? I, I think this is like a relax kind of game. Like everything's gonna be all right. We took some lumps, but like the season's not over just because you lose to Virginia Tech and Texas A&M in November.
Right. Well, and you got to change your perspective. If people are thinking like that, you have to change your perspective because the reality of Orlando is, in summary, we lost to the Virginia Tech Warriors. They were shooting the lights out.
They were.
And then you have a meltdown against Texas A&M. And I think that may be fatigue of you're in Orlando over Thanksgiving break and it's a Sunday and you're out of it. You're out of it. And I think a good reload is going to DePaul, Chicago, good vibes. Saw a lot of my friends there. I was a little sad I couldn't join in on the party, but yeah, no, it just, I think it's a good kind of let's get our confidence back, let's get our rhythm back game, and I think they showcased that tonight, that night. But also just wanted to give a shout out to the DePaul, whoever's calling the DePaul game, because they gave the Keyshawn Gilbert comparison that we gave on this show,
Right.
and it almost I texted Dylan, I was like, are they watching Let Him Cook?
The
Because
listeners.
they made the Ja Morant comparison.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the hair. I don't know if it's the play style. I would like to think it's both,
I would say we were doing Ja Morant comparisons before the hair change. So it wasn't the hair for us.
Right.
But I mean, the way he plays and how quick he is, I think we're going to hear that more than once. But credit us, We were the first ones on that train. So shout out, Let Him Cook for being ahead of the Ja Morant comparisons. Because I think you're going to get that as the season goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we needed this game. Again, I had a lot of fun last week. The Big 12 Big East Challenge, first year, but I think I like it more than the Big 12 SEC Challenge. Kind of outside of Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas A&M is coming on now, but there were so many compelling matchups between the Big 12 and Big East. Again, I feel like we always kind of get the short end of the stick. We played like Ole Miss a lot in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. Had a tough game against Mizzou.
I'm seeing that though with these games too. Like I don't know if that's a TJ issue because like he's scheduling the games, but it just seems like we're picking the weakest opponent in these challenges, and I think it's hurting us come tournament time because we're getting those lower seeds every year.
I don't know for sure. I think the Big 12 SEC Challenge had something to do with conference record. So if you finished 7th in the Big 12, you would finish whoever played 7th in the SEC. But the weird thing with that was there's more SEC teams than Big 12 schools. So like a couple SEC schools didn't even play, in the Big 12 SEC. So it was just kind of
A team like us always has turnaround every year. We're not the
Yeah.
same team every year. So what were you saying?
But I mean, it's good. I think those are the two best conferences in college basketball. I saw this TikTok piss me off, and ESPN's going to do it too. The ACC is just not what it was. I know you're a Duke guy. They've lost some coaches. They've lost some of that pedigree. I think it really is. I think
It's
Big
not
12,
2019 anymore.
right? That's what I'm saying. Like Zion Williamson's not playing for Duke still. Like, let's not
Yeah,
act like,
Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, Virginia
right.
team. Like it isn't the same.
And so I think ESPN really needs, and I know like, I think a lot of these games are going to be on like CBS Sports Network, and I don't know who the Big East TV partner is, but to me, it's a no brainer that like Big 12 is 1A, Big East is 1B. I think Big 12, I'm not sure honestly who came out on top in that challenge. I still think the Big 12 is probably the best league in college basketball. Is there anything you saw from the Big 12 Big East Challenge that might have changed your mind against some of the Big 12 opponents coming up this year?
Um,
Kansas looked good. I don't know if you watched the Kansas UConn game, but
Kansas
that
looked
game
good,
was
and
awesome.
we bring up players that like you hate to play against, but if they play for your team, you'd love them.
Yeah.
Want to give a shout out to KJ Adams at Kansas. I know he
Yeah.
just lost his mother, and he played in the UConn game, and in the locker room brought Bill Self to tears. And again, just another reason why it's hard to hate Bill Self. Like he's just such a good dude. But just to see him go through that and his team have his back and him have the performance that he did was just really remarkable. And it's what makes him so hard to play day in and day out every year we played him. But he's just a tough kid on the floor and off the floor, clearly. I know he's probably not going through the easiest time right now. I can't imagine what that feeling is like. So big shout out to KJ. But a big thing out of the entire challenge is just from a serious point, I think it's better. I think challenges are better without the Big Ten. Because let's be honest, the Big Ten for the last few years has had all these teams in the tournament, and everyone is saying like, "Oh, they're a basketball like conference, blah blah blah." But then y'all be losing to Oral Roberts
Right.
and like Auburn. Like these are football schools
Fairleigh
and
Dickinson.
majors.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Y'all aren't. Sit down, pipe down. You know, and it bothers me, and I think it's a testimony that without them in a challenge this year, people are still like that we're getting high level basketball with the Big East, which most of those teams don't even have a football team. You know, their team. I think when you focus on a conference with a lot of just basketball pedigree schools, you're going to get better outcomes and better games and just better environments to play in as we go forward. Like I would love to see Iowa State at some point go to Seton Hall or go to Marquette, in those big, we don't have a football team, this is all we care about environments. And I think that's a great test early on in November to see where is this team at going forward.
Or like, can you imagine like Villanova showing up to Hilton? That's awesome. Creighton, you have Greg McDermott.
In 5 minutes.
Right. Like there are some big brands in the Big East, and it's promising for the future. Hopefully we're not playing DePaul every year. But I really like that challenge, and I like how it looked in its first year.
TJ, for scheduling purposes, he's got to just beg for a better team to play. Please get me, because like the last few years, both challenges, I've just been like, this is a gimme game. And even last year, we play Mizzou, we lose. Right. So like even playing the worst teams in the SEC at times aren't guaranteed. But it is what it is. I just hope later down the line we are scheduling those harder opponents.
And like I've seen a lot of these borderline blue blood. Tennessee's lost 3 games in a row. I don't think the committee is going to hold that against them come March. They lost like North Carolina, Texas. They lost to really good teams. So if you go out and you schedule these big names, the committee's not going to be like, that's like a quad 1 loss, as we've seen, is not a big deal to the committee. You're going to lose against good teams more than you're going to win. I think that's true for just about any program out there, not named maybe Kansas or, you have to be an elite program to be beating really good teams all the time. So yeah, I would agree. The non-conference has, especially this year, has been a little disappointing. Some of that though is just, I don't think we scheduled DePaul. Iowa's not as good as they have been. We'll get to that a little bit later. And then the ESPN Invitational Tournament, didn't really go in our favor, but it's not like there was a lot of great programs there either. So
Yeah.
I think like Maui next year will obviously be a better field than what we played in
Maui this
Orlando.
year was a powerhouse.
Yeah, Maui
Aside
was
from
nuts.
Ramadan, like,
Yeah,
I would be afraid to touch any of those teams.
yeah. So I think just like going forward, I would rather lose to Duke than Virginia Tech. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to hang your head when you lose to a blue blood. It's like, we gave them the best shot we had. It's not like you're, losing to Virginia Tech, had a hot shooting night, and now you're like, man, we probably should have beat that team because they're going to be a subpar ACC team.
Right. And it's funny you bring that up because people always ask, like, if Duke and Iowa State played each other, who would you go for? And I'm literally that guy who's like, I just hope both teams have fun.
That's gross.
Because
That's
let me explain
gross.
myself. If Iowa State beats Duke, bro, we just beat Duke.
Yeah.
If Iowa State doesn't beat Duke, what'd you expect? It was Duke.
Right.
I can't lose. I can't lose.
That's what I'm saying though. Like if we schedule those games, who's going to be mad?
Do we really lose?
Right. We played at, Cameron Indoor, at Chapel Hill. Like who's going to be mad?
Right. Well, when it comes to scheduling, I will give a shout out to UConn because after a national championship and losing their MOP and Jordan Hawkins, Dan Hurley is such a psycho that he scheduled a gauntlet of a November for the Huskies and got on the podium and was like, look, I'll schedule everybody if I could. And I was like, this guy's insane.
Yeah.
Someone get him a straitjacket because I want to feel like that is our mindset as a coaching staff. Right. Like, I want you guys to want, and I know people sometimes probably don't want to play us. That's fine. But I just want to know the efforts being made. That's all.
Yeah, I think iron sharpens iron. The good thing, though, you can't hide once the Big 12 season starts. You're going to play top 25 teams once, if not twice a week. So that's coming.
And that'll help us come Big 12. Right. Like, we've seen it. We'll be so prepared for a gauntlet of a conference schedule like that. So I just think in the long run, it's going to be so good for us if we just continue to strive for those harder Thanksgiving tournaments.
Again, I said this earlier. I think it's too early to really make up your mind about a player, good or bad. There are some things that are starting to crawl up in the back of my mind where I'm getting a little bit concerned, and I just want to gauge your panic button meter on a couple things. First off, we kind of mentioned it, Curtis Jones, perimeter shooting. I don't want him to stop shooting, and actually I was going to make the comparison to Gabe Kalsher, who won us a lot more games than lost them. Even if Kalsher had a bad shooting night, he was going to play his ass off on defense. He was going to do little things to win. I think Curtis Jones is a lot like that. But he struggled thus far. He went 2 for 2 against DePaul, struggled in Orlando. Where are you at with Curtis Jones and his offense so far?
I think it's a matter of, because I used to ask Caleb this a lot when he was in slumps. I was like, what's the like problem? And he would always talk about the backdrop of like the backboard. And it differs from environment to environment. Some are lighter, some are darker, and then you go to their practice facility and it's just a wall. It's a light beige wall. So everything looks different, and I think it's a matter of just staying confident. I mean, if you're a real shooter, doesn't stop shooting. And I think for Jones in this offense, the second he stops shooting, don't want to say he becomes useless, but his value decreases.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just think he's got to continue to stay positive. He's going to miss shots. It comes with the day. I think, too, fans need to just understand that shooting long balls, they're already a low percentage shot.
It's tough. Right.
So, like, a 37% on a test is bad, but in a basketball game from 3, that's amazing. You're a great shooter. So I think, if God forbid a guy has a 32, maybe high 20s percentage wise shooting night, I wouldn't panic necessarily. It's when everyone collectively starts to like stink it up, like we have in the past against like Oklahoma State at Hilton, and we were scoring 38 points in the entire game.
Sucked.
I know. And it's just, as long as we don't get to that, that's when you hit a real panic button. And really, as opposed to Curtis not shooting his best, I would hit the panic button more so at why have we, like I brought up earlier with multiple teams, blown double-digit losses. Yeah. I mean, double-digit leads. and they've ended up in losses. Like it's one thing to blow a lead. That's fine. Momentum switches, whatever. But to lose that game, bro, we gotta go back to the drawing board,
Yeah, you got to find it. And I think you're exactly right. I think there are bigger problems than, one guy not shooting as well from three as he usually does. If that doesn't cause you to lose a 20-point lead, something like that.
Right.
The other thing, just Omaha Blue, at least to my expectations, hasn't got A, as much playing time, and B, hasn't looked quite as polished as he did in high school or as I thought he would in college. Is it a matchup thing? Is it where do you find his minutes in the rotation? What does he bring that other guys don't? What is the missing puzzle piece for Omaha to really excel this year?
I think we're too worried about having the three-headed guard snake of Tamin, Gilbert, Jones, as opposed to, or even Jackson in some equations, as opposed to we may need to at times sit a Gilbert or Jones, put Omaha at the 3.
Yeah.
Because if you want to see Waukee Omaha, you got to put him on the perimeter. Despite him being 6'8", 215 in high school,
he can move.
His coach was letting him go out and make plays off the dribble. And like I said in our last episode about the dunker spot, how valuable he could be theoretically in that position, I still think that's more of a Hassan role, and they may be trying to have him fill that Hassan void while he's out.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to see the old Omaha, you got to have him more out in the perimeter. And that means, like I said, sitting one of those guards, putting him at the 3, have Milan at the 4, and then Rob or someone else at the 5,
Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. Like once Ward comes back, I think that'll allow Omaha to be kind of more of a wing player, which I think he will eventually. I think that's what he's going to play in the NBA too, is kind of like a 3, maybe a stretch 4, like a small ball forward type of thing.
Yeah. In a more open court like the NBA, he could strive at the 4 spot because a lot of guys are going to be slower than him. But now he's got to just polish the perimeter game. And then when the game gets slower and the court gets wider, that's when he can fully flourish into that role.
And I think too, just at times his hands haven't been, I don't know if you ever had to do this, but like tennis ball drills, playing basketball, like just like throwing them against the wall and catching them, like just like fine motor. And I know the pace. I mean, you'll hear this from any basketball player, the speed, I'm guessing, especially like from Iowa high school basketball to D1 Power 6 college ball, vastly different, 2 different things. He is playing with players on his team and against him. You might see one guy that can kind of hang with you in high school. Now you got 9. So right. I think too, just adjusting to the speed, how fast this ball is coming at him sometimes from passes from Tamin, or like Trey King can throw a ball, I think 80 miles an hour. Don't stat check me on that. But I mean, these guys are whipping it around, and I think he just needs to, it's always a weird kind of juxtaposition, but slow himself down, but adjust to the speed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, mentally it's a lot. There's a lot of things going on all at once. And I know TJ's a very animated coach on the side. So if that throws you off at any point, you could miss a rotation.
Yeah.
If he's giving out a call mid possession, or calling out an adjustment that he wants to be made mid possession, and you're not like catching on to that, that could be why he's sitting out too, and that it's what's easy yet hard about playing for TJ. TJ's not a coach for everybody. I'm not saying Omaha can't thrive in this, system, but I think in a system that isn't for Omaha, it's just going to take a longer time to adjust. And if we need year 2 of Omaha, people, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be better for us.
Right.
Because
he's going to figure it out. I think it's more of a win, not an if kind of thing.
No,
for sure.
And I just think you got to be patient. And we just got into December.
Right.
And we haven't played the most polarizing teams. So I think we've caught him in moments where he's just trying to do a little too much because of the opponent, and it's kind of backfired, and that's okay. That's normal. And I think maybe the bigger the opponent, the more like
The bigger the stage, the
the
brighter the
bigger the
lights.
stage, I feel like the better he'll perform in,
Yeah,
you know?
I can see that.
So I think his time is coming and we just gotta be patient.
Looking ahead now, it is Cyhawk week, happy hate week for those who celebrate. I am from a small town in Iowa, had a lot of Hawkeye friends growing up. I've been a Cyclone since the day I was born. I've dealt with this rivalry. I've been in Twitter wars. I've been tweeted by Jordan Bohannon. I've been hip checked by Dan Dakich, and he called the Twitter cops on me. I have a long running kind of love hate relationship with Cyhawk basketball, especially. Um, I think it's a great series. I think it's a slept on college basketball rivalry. There's been some truly unbelievable games in this series. Really looking forward to this year. I've watched Iowa a little bit. I watched them play Oklahoma. I watched them play last night. They remind me, out of the teams we've played, remind me most of Virginia Tech. I think when they can shoot the three ball, they're a really good team, Iowa. When they can't, they kind of start to struggle. And in the past couple years, they've had Chris Murray, Keegan Murray, Luka Garza. They've had a guy, usually in the low post, that they can just be like, all right, we need a bucket. We need you to do something. Go do it. And for the most part, to varying degrees, they've had a guy to do that.
Right.
This year, I think Peyton Sanford is probably who they're looking towards. I just don't think he's quite to the level of the Murray twins or Luka Garza, obviously. So they're a good team. They're a young team. They're a weird matchup. I think Iowa State is just built to not play teams like Iowa. Iowa's not a Big 12 team. They would stick out like a sore thumb. Maybe Baylor last year is like one of the only teams in recent memory that has that good of an offense, but that bad of a defense. They play fast. They shoot a lot of threes. And it just kind of, if they go in, it could, they can really score a lot of points. If they're not going in, they really struggle.
Yeah, last year was brutal.
Yeah.
Grill got dunked on. I mean, both the women and the men's team looked like the Warriors. I mean,
Yeah.
they just hit three after three after three. It was endless. But I just think I was listening to Iowa Everywhere earlier with Bohannon. He was on and he was talking about the game, and he said that he thinks they're going to run a lot of zone. So if that's the case scenario, I hope Jones has been in Hilton every day shooting, because he's going to be open a lot, especially with Tamin, his ability to get to the basket. He's going to be able to have people collapse in the middle. Curtis Jones is going to have a lot of open shots that he needs to knock down, and this could be his breakout game. He can save the narrative in a game like this,
Right.
especially in Hilton. This is where people like fell in love with Isaiah Brockington, and I think it's just a matter of finding out what they're going to do and adjusting to it. And I think if you can guard the three ball well, I think Iowa's a very beatable team. Where I do gain some concern is, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but Ben Creek, the transfer. The Kirk or Creek?
Kirk. I don't have a pronunciation.
I've heard like 10 ways to say it. So
yeah,
I know who you're talking about. The guy from Valpo.
Right. He's he obviously a great five guy, but with Owen Freeman out of Moline, Illinois, him and Brock Harding coming off the bench. Shout out Illinois products. They won the state championship last year, and they're both coming off the bench for Iowa. I fear that without Ward, we will lack some front court depth, and I think this might be a game where Omaha's asked to play the four, and we get into that foul trouble situation again. But nonetheless, I think if we can contain Sanford's a lot like Wieskamp.
Yeah,
he gives me
that's
that
a great
vibe.
Comp. Yep.
And he's shooting the ball well, and he's averaging, I think, 14 a game. So he's looking to be their main scoring option. If we can contain McCaffrey, I think we'll be all right. And then I just hate Tony Perkins. I think he's a yapper, and I can't stand him.
Is he from Illinois too? Is he in Illinois?
Yeah, he's from Chicago, and I find it weird when Chicago point guards go to Iowa City and are like, "Oh, this feels like home." What? No. Anywho, yeah, I just don't like Tony. He's kind of an a-hole. Not kind of, he is. Anywho, going forward, I just feel like if we can handle those specific matchups, I think we'll be fine. We seem to play Iowa a tad bit better at Hilton just playing in Carver. It's dark, it's loud,
And well, is it loud?
and those
Sometimes it
people.
can be for wrestling.
I just think we're gonna have to be. We have to be on our P's and Q's and have to be shot ready. I think Milan can also have a tremendous game if put in the zone correctly. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that a guy like Rob or whoever's going to be in the middle can just get those guys the ball.
Yeah.
Because with quick enough ball movement, they're going to be quick and easy shots. Like the best way to break a zone is you're at one wing, you swing it back, let them rotate back, and that person who you just who passed you the ball and you're passing it back to him,
Wide open.
he's already got to be ready to shoot.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just got to have. And that's why we can't have someone like Curtis Jones losing that confidence, because this is going to be a game that could be his coming out party. So I just think it's going to be knowing who their guys are, knowing who's coming off the bench, because Freeman and Harding are a great duo and they have that chemistry. They've been playing since they were kids. So it's just going to be key to key in those guys and just be aware of knowing the personnel that is out there on the floor.
Yeah, Owen Freeman I was going to mention, that's probably my player to watch, and he's been really good for Iowa off the bench. He's led him in scoring already as a freshman. The other thing I wanted to point out, kind of the two guys, not that we were, going in on them, but Curtis Jones and Omaha, I think could both have really big games. We were talking about the bright lights. I mean, Omaha's going to be able to play against, I believe he played on the same Waukee team.
Two former teammates, and
right.
Price and
then he played against Price, because Price was at Waukee Northwest, Omaha was at Waukee. So,
Price was the starting power forward on that state championship Waukee team too.
Right. These guys, they know each other. They've played against each other. I don't know what the friendship / it's always weird when schools, divide and you kind of got to pick a side. And I know that can be contentious. So I don't know what the dynamic is, but here's a great opportunity for Omaha to really show out.
Yeah, I did ask Cade about that dynamic, and he said they're all cool. It's just a matter of with Waukee having the whole open enrollment thing, you just kind of get to choose on what school you want to go to. Right. And a lot of people, because Northwest was just the newer facility, they had newer everything. They just picked Northwest kind of by default. But anyway, nonetheless, it's gonna be a great environment. Hilton's got to be on one. The talking smack has to elevate, and where this always starts. It starts in the women's game. I need everyone to be at the women's game. I'm not going to sit here and put all my chips on our women's team to take it up against one of the best teams in the country and one of the best players in the country, and Caitlin Clark. Nonetheless, last time they were in Hilton, they did lose.
Yeah.
So please don't forget that. And it came by a lot of people, myself included, saying some things I would not repeat on TV and or podcast platforms to Monica Sonato, Kate Martin. You can't discriminate when it comes to boys and girls. Keep that same hatred and energy as Cyclone fans for both games. It's so necessary if you want to come out on top.
Yeah, equal opportunity haters. And this game, I think Iowa has maybe won twice in Hilton. The men's team has won twice in Hilton since as long as I've been alive. I'm going to be at this game in person. This will be my first game in person of the year. As a fan, man, I got a couple days off. I got some vacation days pent up, so I'll be there. It's just a great atmosphere. It's a great rivalry. I think the other key that Cricky, one of them, Cricket, he has a really good mid range, but he likes a catch and shoot or like a pivot into a turn. If he has to attack or go off the dribble to get to his shot, that's not his go-to. He can, but I don't think that is his first option.
He's a modern big.
Right. If you can double him on the catch, I know that's not always easy. And with a team like Iowa, there's going to be someone open on the perimeter. But if you can double him almost instantly, he's going to have a really hard time getting his shot off. And he's going to either have to put it on the floor or pass it out. So I think that'll be a key to the game. And then rebound and limit, run guys off the 3-point line. I would rather have them trying to come downhill against Trey King, against Omaha, against Bob Jones, than, be able to sit 30 feet away from the basket and just chuck threes. So I think these teams know each other enough to expect what the other team's going to do. I think X's and O's. We played this team every year. So it's just
A
how
lot of
well
it
can you
doesn't
execute?
matter. Like it's really just about like how good a team is and what they run. Like it doesn't matter. A game like this is so. From the hate perspective, I would put it up there with Duke and Carolina.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
it's real. Like, this is all Iowa has. Like, this is
and
what my sports world was growing up, was Iowa State against Iowa.
like bro, I was in Iowa City senior year when we beat them for football, and like you're getting into disputes that you would never get into disputes. Like I'm going at it with girls, and I'm like, you know what you're talking about. And it's like I would never do that, and it's just that game brings that side out of you, and I don't know what it is, dude. You're just not yourself on those days. You become a different person on the anticipation and just all of it building up to, especially when it's in Ames and in Hilton, dude. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
I still, to this day, I will not buy any clothing and or shoes that have anything where black touches yellow. I straight up, like, it's like an inner, like, it's subconscious at this point. I'm just like, oh, that looks bad. And it's not that it looks bad. I'm just used to not liking black and yellow. That is just
also a huge fuel for the girls' game is never forget, Cyclone fans. Kylie Feuerbach, she was at Iowa State.
Little Adam Haluska move.
She transferred to Iowa.
People don't forget.
If y'all don't let her have it and wreak havoc on her, we're gonna have a problem, Cyclone Nation. We're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, there's
same goes with Caitlin. I mean, we got to be in her ear when she's warming up, like out the tunnel, screaming at her.
Booze.
Throw some shoes. I don't care. Just
thanks for the memes.
Get creative with it.
I'm pumped for this game. It gives me as much anxiety as it gives me excitement. Because the other thing is you hear about it. I mean, like there's Iowa grads at work. You have friends that either grew up liking Iowa or went to Iowa. It's unescapable. We need a year of bragging rights. I knew football was going to be tough this year for Cyhawk. So here's our chance. Just do your thing. Please, God. I'm going to be in person. Let me see it happen.
Yeah, we have better luck when we've already lost the football game. There's less pressure on us to go for the sweep.
Right.
And I think that's what gave us the advantage in 2021, and I think it can definitely happen this year. I wouldn't put it past them.
I just remember that Brockington. Not until you brought up, like, that's when it was Brockington's like coming out party. Was it Connor or Patrick that he did a spin move and one of them just ended up on the ground?
Connor. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Man. That is still one of my favorite gifts.
Hit him with the
yeah.
Like what, bro? I was like, I need to go home. I'm too excited right now. I need to go home.
Different.
But that I think that dog is still in us because of what program this is. And I think, throw out the X's and O's, man. This game is personal. And I hope Tamin, out of all people, let last year's loss sting. And I know
I love like having these kids from Iowa. Like Tamin Lipsey grew up with just as many like friends that liked Iowa. Well, I mean, he went to school in Ames, but like, I mean, you live it.
Half of Ames High is Iowa fans. That's the thing.
Right. Like, I mean, like, it's just one or the other. It's like a 50-50 shot, I feel like, at this point, with my generation at least. So these guys know what this rivalry is about.
It's a little bit more personal, though, when you're not from Waukee. You're from Ames.
Right.
You went to Ames High School, and now you're at Iowa State.
Like Iowa City High and Ames High, those two schools are rivals. Like, I mean, they play in football every year. Right. It's in the blood. It's in the water. It's everywhere.
It's in my veins.
If you can't get up for Cyhawk, then, keep your ass in the locker room.
Dig in your grave now, because you're dead to me.
It's the game. It is maybe Kansas and basketball is probably just as big of a deal, but Texas last year was nuts.
Texas was different. But
that
I mean,
environment was.
It's Iowa State fueled. I would hope that the same energy that you had for Tyrese Hunter, give it to Kylie Feuerbach, because last year she tore ACL. She didn't play all year. But this year she's playing. you know? And I think if we can get in the head of someone at the bench and their best player, I think you might have something there. Yeah. Without Monica Sonano this year, you might have something this year. I'm telling you.
Nigel, before we get out of here, just saying Kansas reminded me, nothing pissed me off more last week. So apparently, now these are hands, this is bad radio, hands that have been literally nearly frozen waiting outside of Hilton Coliseum as a student to get the best seats in the house. You wait outside, it's that long sidewalk that loops around the arena, and it sucks, and I hate it, but that's what you did because you wanted, like, you know, sit first row, second row, and you want to be able to yell at the players. So that's what you did. I come to find out Kansas, which is 3-4 hours south of here, so it's a little bit warmer, they get to camp inside in Allen Fieldhouse? What are we doing? What is you're not getting stars of valor for sitting in a goddamn gym for 3 days from me. You just bring your laptop, you go on class virtually. Where's the sacrifice? Fake basketball school. If you're going to act like, you know, you're this crazy student section, go sit in 10-degree weather for 2 days and then come talk to me. That's what I'm saying. This generation has gone soft. I did not risk frostbite multiple times in my college career. To watch these Jayhawks sit in the gym. Disgusting.
It wasn't long ago. I was sitting with Mr. Aiden Wyatt behind on the west side of Hilton.
Yeah.
Freezing my buns off.
It's not fun, but you have to do it.
Just me and Aiden.
I think it also makes you angrier.
Our buns off.
It makes you angrier once you get in. You're just pissed off because you're so damn cold.
Yeah. You're like, you know what? I do hate Tyrese Hunter. And then you just start yelling expletives. You
get blood flowing back in your hands and you're like, I'm still angry.
Yeah.
So
now you want to do something with them. You want to throw some dukes up. Like in the great words of Jack Harlow, they just don't love it. They don't love it.
And then people were acting like it was this like crazy thing. Like they were like, wow, Kansas students are crazy. I'm like, no, they're not.
They're soft.
I would do that I would have been there in October for the UConn game. I would just be hanging out in some like janitor closet. It's heated. Come on, grow up.
Yeah. I mean, Kansas is becoming that school where it's like, y'all might as well not even have a football team. I mean, they're just.
That was disheartening. I thought, I didn't know that was even an option, that you could wait inside. I don't know how I never thought of that, but I almost like that you can't.
I think in a post-COVID world, like that can't be sanitary.
Yeah. Also,
just camping
what's
out
it
on
smell
the court?
like in there? Yeah.
It's got to reek. It's got to reek.
Cheese
I know
puffs
people from Kansas don't take showers. There's no way.
Yeah. Gross. Anything else? I'm trying to think college basketball. Oh, I mean, do we want to bring up your Blue Devils? Are we saving that for a different time?
No. My only comment on that is everyone's been losing. We'll take our lumps, whatever.
Next question.
Yeah, next question. Tyrese Proctor's also hurt his ankle, so that's not good. Anywho, I do want to bring up, past Thursday, I was in Baton Rouge for the LSU Angel Reese is back game. It was a big deal.
Was that Virginia Tech?
Yeah, they played Virginia Tech. So Georgia Moore, 5'8", just mean Australian bucket. Just a female Matthew Dellavedova with a jump shot. It was beautiful. I was like, this girl is a hooper. She is a hooper. But you know who's even more of a hooper? Michaela Williams. Bro, please go look her up. Like, all of her, dude, I've never seen a freshman move. I don't think Caitlin was moving like this her freshman year. I'm come at me. I don't care. I'll argue that to the day I die. I've not seen a freshman just this even keel and consistent as a scorer. She's just so fluid, bro. And her jump shot is just silky. It's consistent and looks the same every time. It's at the top, and she's got a jab step, bro. She's got a jab step, like, and it's like a prime Carmelo jab step. I'm like, who taught you that? That is a pro move.
Yeah.
And she just got done with study hall a few months ago, you know, and just to see a high level women's game like that, it's why the sport is growing, and I'm so happy to see it growing. And Baton Rouge was rocking, like those fans, the same. It was loud, dude. It was like football loud, and I think that's the Kim Mulkey effect. She's in the media room, bro. She can walk in and she controls the room, and asking her a question was probably the scariest 15 seconds of my life. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. That's an intimidating. That's tough because you don't know that's a coach where like you don't know what she could make you look like a fool.
Yeah, well, some guy was like, "This is your first AP win in a long time," and she was like, and I was like, "Oh my god, she's gonna cook him. She's gonna cook him."
Duck, run.
But yeah, no.
Glad she's out of the Big 12 too.
Yeah.
The SEC can have her.
It gives Bill Fenley a way easier time, even though Big 12 is no joke when it comes to women's basketball either. But yeah, no. Other than that, though, great game. Flage is for real.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that she was like Flage really has been the glue of that team. Like she's so good, and that's just a complete team. And I think when healthy, bro, I hope they get Iowa again. I hope they get Iowa again. Oh my God. I need to see, there was a 30-piece last year. I need to see a 40-piece this year. I cannot stress that enough. And I think it will be because I don't know who's going to guard Michaela Williams.
Yeah.
Like who? Kate Martin? Sorry. It's going to be a long night. Pack a lunch.
We have some classic hate week ranting as we end the show. Man, I hope Iowa State can just really go on. I would love a 30-point no-doubter win. Yeah. Always give me a blowout against a rival over a close game. 100%, especially at home. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I think if you're going to blow out a team, this Iowa team is a lot similar to 2021. Like you just lost Luka Garza.
Right.
You're coming off of where are we? I think when Iowa's in that stage of they just lost to All-American type player like the Murray twins, I think you're in that stage of like, I don't know we don't know our identity, and I think that's when they're the most vulnerable. So I think it's the best time to attack. So hoping for a clone win. I just think Cyclone Nation, y'all need to read up on some people and know who to go at early on. For women's, Caitlin Clark, obviously, but Kylie Feuerbach, former Cyclone, left you for the Hawkeyes. Let that sink in.
Bring the hate. This week.
The audacity of that decision. You can go anywhere in the country and you pick that black and gold team 2 hours east. The audacity.
Couldn't be me.
Get out of here.
Couldn't be me, Nigel. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Sorry for the long episode, but I just had a lot to get off my chest today, man.
We were pent up. We had a flu week last week, and we're back, baby.
You had a flu week.
That's right.
It's that casserole.
Man. Hey, it tasted good, and I want to be on the record. I wasn't throwing up green beans. I still love green bean casserole.
Hey, man. Notice how me and Aiden aren't saying anything.
That's on you. Bro. All right. See you guys. Let him cook.